Hello, amazing one. How are you? Okay, so I have some amazing stuff that I want to go through you with today. And to make sure that my mind absolutely stays on track with everything that I want to share with you, I have written myself a few notes to keep me on point. So if you see my eyes diverting to my notes, you'll know what I'm doing, okay? It is so relevant that I'm actually here sharing with you this today, in part because it's all about how your immune system functions. And it's relevant because I'm so aware that my own immune system is heating up right now. Like, I literally have a temperature, and I have done since yesterday. So my own immune system is working diligently to burn something off that it has found to be not so great, or it's doing a winter spring clean, which would be totally good as well. But it's interesting because my own immune system cells are right now doing the very thing that I'm actually here to talk to you about. I have been so keen to do this video for you for literally years, 5, 6, 7 years, maybe even more than that. And I actually have about 450 video topics in my library that I have partially written the information for the videos and the articles that I'll be sharing with you one day. And I've known for about a week now that no matter what was happening, that I was going to be doing this video out of all the ones that I have in my library, because it feels like the right time. And I'm very much plan what I'm going to share you, what I release to you, based upon the guided intuition that comes through more than anything else, right? So I'm hoping that in the very near future, I will have time to finish writing many of the videos and articles and spend a whole week doing that so that I can more regularly get them out to you, especially right now, because we're going through such a huge process individually and collectively as a species. And so that obviously brings up a lot of things for us to have to be aware of and to work through and to heal from. So there are a lot of topics that I want to go through and get out to you. For now, it's just small steps. And there is a lot going on in the clinic. There's a lot going on in the business right now. So everything in its own time. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about personality traits. I have forever been fascinated. Like, it's some of my earliest memories of being absolutely fascinated by personality traits, by behavior, by us as a human species and the way that we show up in this world. And personality traits in particular, they're because they're like windows into the different aspects and levels of our minds. And these personality traits are like windows into what the mind believes, into our behaviors, our thoughts, our feelings, the emotions that are common for you to experience. And then they mirror into the state of our body and how that's operating and how that's functioning. So all of that mirrors through into our health. And I'm going to show you how that really happens. Okay, so did you know? Yeah, and I will come at it from this perspective. I was just thinking, which road do I want to go down? Did you know that your personality traits are a direct reflection of your body's functioning? And you might be thinking, how does a personality trait have anything to do with how my body functions? How would that even happen, right? And I totally get it, because we as a human species have been badly conditioned for generations now that all parts of you are single, separate working parts, right? And majority of the medical system and the people in it, that's what they're taught to believe as well. So, and we're taught that one part of the body has very little bearing on other parts of the body, if at all. It's just not considered to be that things are connected. It's viewed as separate parts, separate functions. It's all separate. So it's not only this view of separate functioning, but then we view ourselves and the world around us as being very separate from us. It all mirrors, okay? But everything is actually connected to everything within your entire body-mind complex, in actual fact. And every part of you, and I mean every part of you, has communication, direct links, direct connections, direct communication with all other parts of you, right? All parts of you. And there's no separate parts or separate functioning. So what are some of the personality traits that you might be familiar with? Because you might have recognized them within yourself, or you might recognize some personality traits in somebody else that you might know. Interestingly, there are said to be well over 4,000 different identified personality traits for us as humans at the moment. And I'm going to speak to more about that in a second. But what I want to do is I want to do just a small list. I'm not going to do anywhere near the 4,500 or over 4,000 personality traits. I just want to do a small list. And let's see by the end of the video which ones you'd think are the ones that you have, or ones that you think would adversely affect your immune system, right? And let's see if you can work out which ones would actually help to keep the immune system functioning more as it's naturally intended, right? So we have personality traits such as assertiveness, or for someone to be quite assertive, okay? A perfectionist, impatient, competitive, a team player, interdependence, aggressive, work obsessed, personality trait of creative or creativity, sociable, the extrovert, the introvert. And there's been a lot of talk, a lot of self-analyzing around those two personality traits in recent years. So I'm sure you would have heard of those. Conscientious, positive outlook, negative outlook, helpful, shy or reserved, anxious, manipulative, curious, eager, cautious. So just as for your information, kind of FYI, I mentioned how your immune system is naturally intended to function, but what is that? What would that actually be, right? It means that essentially every part of you, every aspect of you as a human being has a natural function, meaning how that part of the body would function if it was in absolute complete balance and harmony with its knowing of who it is, meaning it has its consciousness is clear, right? And every part of the body has consciousness. It understands what its role is, how to do that role. It does it with ease, so it's not compromised in any way. It has everything that it needs coming to it, and it is able to provide everything that it needs or it's functioning to every other part that it's connected to in the body. It has full connection, ease of connection and communication to all other parts of the body. That's the natural function. Very few people have an immune system that is, and I mean very few, like I've not even come across somebody yet where their immune system was naturally functioning the way that it was intended to. And there's a whole host of reasons for that. And I'll do another video about it a different day. And if you want to know, let me know, because I can prioritize that and bring a video forward in time for you. Okay. And that's an important one, because the more with the information you are, the quicker you can identify things for yourself and make changes that just immediately affect the health of your immune system and then your overall body mind complex. So it's win-win. Let me know if you want me to do that. So we're talking about the natural functioning. Another way that this is said is we talk about the natural consciousness expression for a body part. That's a same way to be able to say it. And I tend to use that terminology more often than not, the way that the natural consciousness of a body part is expressing itself, means as it's functioning. It is my hope that the amount of traits, so 4,000 plus, actually decreases as we continue to evolve and grow up, literally, because it is like that we as a species are still in kindergarten in many respects. You know, we have a lot of growing up and evolving to do. And we evolve our consciousness higher and higher, because as we grow and our consciousness evolves, we become more aware, we connect more in to the truth of things, then many of those personality traits will actually disappear and fall away, because they are ones that harm the human. So self-harm, self-poisoning, literally, and they harm our fellow human beings and the rest of the world around us, meaning nature and the animal kingdom, okay? So onwards to why we're actually here today. I was talking with a colleague and a mentor years ago about the immune system, and he mentioned some really fascinating evidence that he'd once been told about, and he was part of it. He was there whilst this all took place, and I was so eager to find out more that I went and researched it myself and was absolutely blown away. So it was a really interesting impromptu experiment that was done quite a few years ago, where a group of people were all together in a place where there was quite a high-powered microscope that they could get access to. They'd been discussing the latest research that had been coming forward about the immune system and the microbiome, meaning the human microbiome. They decided that they would play a game, and they were asked to give small blood samples each from the group, and they were going to view these individual blood samples under this high-powered microscope. Now, they did make a record of whose samples belonged to who, but as they displayed the live blood sample view to the whole group, the person who it came from was withheld. And the reason for that is because as a group, they had to try and pick whose sample it was just by observing how the immune system cells behaved. And they all knew each other. They knew each other quite well in this group. So they'd had time to get to know each other and what their personality traits were, right? What they saw was really remarkable. And it was when the immune system cells of each slide reacting and behaving in quite different ways. And so each sample was very different. They were specifically observing white blood cells, the ones that are tasked with detecting infections, microbes, and then dealing with those infections. And the way these white blood cells would react, what they observed were white immune cells behaving in a way that really mirrored the individual's personality. So as an example, there was somebody in the group that had personality traits of anxious, shy, and introvert. They were the type of person who really didn't like to try new things. They hated stepping out of their comfort zone. It was a real challenge to them. And they didn't like being put in the light or felt like that they were being put in the light. So as an example, you know, they're in a group of people and maybe the lecturer would signal them out and say, such and such, can you answer this question? For them, that would feel like there's a light spotlight being put on them, and that would really, really challenge them where the focus was on them. Now, when they observed this person's white immune cells under the microscope, they saw these cells behaving in the same way as her own personality traits. It was remarkable. When a microbe came by, so you have her immune system cell kind of just sitting there, hanging out in the environment, not really moving around, okay? At first, it looked like the cell was just being idle, just sitting there. The cell would see it, would notice, you'd see it moving as this microbe came by. And sometimes the white cell would actually not do anything at all as microbes would go by the white blood cell, the immune system cell. And other times the cell would really gradually, almost like with hesitation, start to extend these little tendrils outside of itself, as if it was thinking about connecting, thinking about touching the microbe, maybe moving just a tiny bit towards the microbe, but then it would actually pull back quite quickly and into itself, like it was hesitant, it was scared, it had anxiousness. Yeah. These tendrils are actually super important that a cell like that has, because they're designed to reach out and touch the environment, the world around them. So they're meant to touch a microbe to tell what kind of microbe it is. It has to identify it. It has to know whether it's that microbe meant to be part of the body? Is it a good guy? Is it not such a good guy? Is it in the right area of the body, right? And if it's not such a good guy, how to eliminate it really effectively. So it's kind of like these cells, they remind me of a little octopus. And it's crucial that it sends out its tentacles into the environment. So that was a sample that came from the person who was quite reserved, quite anxious, quite shy, quite introvert. And the cells mirrored that exactly. All those personality traits were right there on the slide in front of them, doing the personality traits. Yeah. And they all were able to pick it exactly who it was in the group. There was another person in the group, and the personality traits that they would be considered to have would be an extrovert, achiever, someone who loved being involved with things, socializing, and they were really curious and loved trying new things. When this person's blood was observed under the microscope, their white immune cells were observed to constantly be roaming around the environment like they're loving being out in the world, seeing nature all around them, being very outwards, navigating the world, and also touching everything around it. These white cells, their tendrils were out all the time, touching, feeling, navigating, exploring, understanding all the time. It was so different to the first sample. And it was seeking information, seeking to understand what it was that it was coming into contact with. So it was curious, a really curious nature, a curious personality trait. When it came into contact with a pathogen microbe, the tendrils would extend out without hesitation. It was really assertive. It would touch it, identify it, understand that it was pathogenic, and pull it in quickly, devouring it in seconds, all in front of them, in the microscope, in front of them, the whole group. And that's such a different story of behavior and personality trait to the person whose traits were anxious a lot of the time, whereby their immune system cells would not be willing to connect with the world around them. And as a consequence, this fearful and anxious immune system would constantly miss opportunities because it was not addressing the imbalances, meaning it was not addressing the pathogenic microbes that were throughout the body. And that then was, leading to a whole host of issues. So to this, it has been found that people who are more introverted, more scared, more anxious, who are often people whose immune systems seem to really struggle with repairing and struggle with addressing things effectively that need to be addressed quite quickly. Immune cells that are part of a person whose traits are based upon, and I'm just going to mention a few here and go back to the traits that I talked about before. For the ones who are assertive, where they're a perfectionist, and I've got a couple of asterisks here for myself. A perfectionist, in the perspective of, or from the perspective of, that you've got immune system cells that are not content to let something go. They'll just want to address it until they're sure and they know that it's done. It's either good and it's allowed, or it's not good and it's being dealt with. So there is the ability to have a perfectionist personality trait where they overanalyze, they overthink stuff, they over navigate things. And so it's not really effective at all. So it's a perfectionist personality trait who's just quite effective in doing what they need to do. Competitive. And I've got the same thing here as well, because competitive can be great when you've got immune system cells that say, yeah, let's see how fast we can, break down this community of pathogenic bacteria that has, found its way to be in the lungs or whatever it is. If they're competitive in that regard and they do it then effectively, that's great. But if you have somebody that has a personality trait of competitiveness, but it's very isolated, it's very singular, it's very I am, and it doesn't involve community, it doesn't involve working together, what you then can have is an immune system where the cells are competitive, and that can then result in autoimmune conditions where it can look like the body's fighting itself or up against itself. Another one is where the cells are like team players. That's a personality trait of a team player. You want the cells to realize that they're part of a team, to know innately that they're part of the team, that they work for the greater good of all. Instead of working as a single isolated cell, they work as a team, and that's very, very important. If you have personality traits as interdependence, right, where there's a really nice, healthy relationship between them, there's a healthy give and take, there's not a codependence or an over-reliance in any way, shape, or form. Creative, personality trait of creative. Why is this important? And this is so important that you realize this, because I think people have really big blocks at times around creativity and being creative, because it's highly nourished in early childhood for a lot of people. It is sometimes highly nourished when people go into that first year of school, and then that's it, it's gone. It is more often than not today, It is not regarded as something substantial that anybody should do. And it's quite often art is taken, anything creative is taken out of the curriculum and not given any merit at all. However, to have a personality trait that is creative or formed around creativity is crucial for health, is crucial for an immune system or any system within the body to have a personality trait of creative. And one of the many reasons why is because it's important that the immune system finds creative solutions around things. The body-mind complex is always going to come up against obstacles, issues, imbalances, pathogens, whatever it is. And sometimes the tried and true way of the immune system and the body dealing with things, the innate wisdom quickly works out, that is not going to work this time. Okay, we need to find a creative solution around this, and very, very quickly. If you do not have a personality trait of creative, the immune system is not going to have a personality trait of creative. And that is a big deal. Because when disease comes into the body, your systems need to find creative ways through that to be able to address it and address it for good. So creative, sociable, extrovert, conscientious. So meaning that they're going to work through things and be really thorough with things, having a positive outlook, helpful, meaning the cells are going to be helpful in the way that they work with each other and with the system being helpful in the way that they work with all the other systems. And curious. A curious mind is one of the most valuable assets that you can have. A closed off mind or closed-mindedness is actually a really big sickness, and that produces disease in the body. So having a curious mind. So this system, this immune system, is going to be a really healthy, productive system that serves the greater good of the whole body, and it gets things done effectively on time. It won't stop growing and evolving. It won't stop converting its knowledge that it gains into wisdom, because that's what it's meant to be doing, okay? So what can you do? Well, you can take a step-by-step approach at many baby steps, small steps. If you're able to make big changes in a short period of time and hold that, great, but that's not the expectation here. Just do little baby steps as you're able to do it, and get it sinking in as a pattern so that you can make it a part of your everyday life. It becomes who you are, okay? So this step-by-step approach at becoming who you really deeply, truly want to be. You really need to ask yourself, who do I truly want to be? What's that vision look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? And look at how you can start to make steps to becoming that. If you don't enjoy being anxious, if it doesn't serve you, stressed out, overthinking, an immune system that overthinks things is not a productive immune system at all, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to be an extrovert to have great immune system functioning. That's not at all. You can develop a very great inner strength and a wonderful, deep knowing of who you are at your core, and it will have the exact same effect. Why? Because it brings in strength, and it brings in clarity, and it brings in knowing about who you are. So in other words, keep growing and just do baby step by baby step, okay? Keep seeking. Get good at addressing things thoroughly as they come up, and I can't stress that enough. Putting things off and procrastinating will mean that your cells will do the same. Your immune system will do the same. It'll procrastinate. And that's when infections and imbalances, especially in microbes, can blow out of balance and can cause very big health issues for you. And these can occur just in a few hours, let alone over days or weeks or even months, okay? And here's, an example of that. I love giving an analogy, but just pretend that You can hear your immune system, and your immune system is looking up through your body, and it sees that there's an infection going on in the mouth somewhere, and your immune system says, oh, that bacteria up in that tooth, that's not good. I should really do something about that, but I just couldn't be bothered. I just could not be bothered. I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. I can wait till tomorrow. Right. So don't let your procrastinator personality trait become a behavior that your immune system cells mirror and then follow on through doing day after day after day. And the one of the procrastinator is the one that I personally have to work on for myself, right? Once in a blue moon, something like that happening, a procrastination, putting off until tomorrow, but as a reoccurring pattern, it just spells trouble. So my suggestion would be, over the next 7 days, take time to jot down in your computer, in a book, on your phone, your personality traits that you identify within yourself. Just be super honest. And if you want to, you don't have to though, but if you want to, you can ask a trusted family, friend, family or friend, what they see in your traits. Okay, so what can they identify within you? Because sometimes our subconscious mind, the ego, does a really fantastic job at hiding from our conscious awareness the things that we repeatedly do, and such as our personality traits. And asking others' perspectives can really shine a light into the traits that you are oblivious of having. And you'll usually be able to see it and know it as truth. When somebody mentions it, it'll strike a chord with you, it'll feel true to you. You'll be able to look at it and say, oh yeah, I can see that that is there. But I can't stress enough how important it is to only seek out people that you actually trust and hold in high regard, okay? Because this person has to be somewhat grounded and neutral when giving their views of you to you. If you don't trust them, then what can happen is you get a projection of somebody's own insecurities and judgments that are not accurate of you whatsoever, and that will affect you. So you've got to trust your gut instincts and go with what feels right then. A gentle commitment to self-inquiry and healing is just such an effective way to balance and heal your entire body-mind complex so it can function more as it's naturally intended to. That will help enormously. Sessions like the one that you and I would do together help you get to the actual causation of the traits and take you through a healing process so that your behaviors, your reactions to things, your traits, your mind's way of believing the world around it or believing things about yourself, they all change for the better really quickly. Yeah. So I'm hoping that today's video has really been able to shed some light on, one of the things that really is affecting your immune system and the cells within it every single moment of every single day, and affecting the way that they operate. And it's important to know that just from watching this video alone, just by all of this coming to your own conscious awareness, that it's already started to make changes for you, which are absolutely phenomenal, okay? Awareness brings change. Awareness brings change, which is really, really wonderful. Start by making small steps in your personal growth, and your immune system will just become stronger and stronger and eventually end up as a force to be reckoned with, okay? So don't forget to hit on that subscribe button before you leave, because that really helps support me in many, many ways, and I really appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Remember to tread your own path. Bye.